I am from Group G002 from OUM Petalinjaya. Today we are going to talk about intercultural communication, and my group consists of course, myself, Jamila, Siti Khalija, Revati, and Maigala. Well, today I will be covering the definition of intercultural communication, the background of three major cultures in Malaysia, and of course my own negative experience being Malaysian. And the rest of my team members will be covering their own negative experience, the challenges, strategy, the importance of intercultural communication, and of course later on the summary. So what is intercultural communication? Today we are going to provide you with several commonly accepted academic definitions. For instance, Chen and Starosta, they say that intercultural communication refers to the communication between people from two different cultures. Lustig and Koister says that it's a symbolic, interpretive, transactional contextual process in which people from different culture create shared meaning. And lastly, from Arasatnam, he said that intercultural communication refers to the effects on communication behavior when different cultures interact together. Hence, one way of viewing intercultural communication is as communication that unfolds in symbolic intercultural spaces. Let's look Malaysia, for instance, is a multicultural country with a distinct mix of three major races: Chinese, Malay, and India. And there are some variety of indigenous groups as well. The official religion in Malaysia is Islam, but there are many other religions in Malaysia's melting pot. Just to mention a few, we have Buddhism, Hinduism, animism, Christianity, and so much more. Within Malaysia society, there is Malay cultures, Chinese cultures, and Indian cultures, Eurasian cultures, yes, and along with the cultures of the indigenous group of the Peninsula and North Borneo. The largest population in Malaysia is Malay. Like me, I am Malay. I was born Malay, and we practice Islam. And of course, in Malaysia, all days and even still, we Malay dominated in agriculture's industry, and most Malays dominate Malaysian politics, and mostly in government body as well, dominated by Malays. We celebrate Hari Raya Idul Fitri, is the biggest celebration in Islam, or in Islam community. Our culture, traditionally we greet salam is, we say it as in Assalamualaikum, is an Arabic sentence which means peace upon you. And like today I'm wearing baju kurung, maybe a little bit of improvising. When people get creative and innovative, they tend to create something different than old days. Of course, we consume food with right hand, because left hand we do with we use our left hand for something else. And our culture tarian, or we call it like a dance, cultural dance, is Inang, Joget, and Zapin. The second largest population in Malaysia is Chinese. They were either migrated here or they were born here in Malaysia. They are mostly traders and dominate mining industries. They are very business driven and contribute to rapid economic growth in Malaysia. So within Chinese communities, the largest subgroup is Hokkien, followed by Cantonese, and then Hakka. Most of them celebrated Chinese New Year. There is another word as we call it Gong Si Pak Choi. I think they do it like that, Gong Si Pak Choi. And their culture traditional greeting is shake hand or handshake, shake hand. Their traditional costume is called chonsam. They use chopstick whenever they have their meal, and their classical dance or the traditional dance, we call it as a lion dance.
So yeah, hi, I'm Revati here. So today I'm going to talk about the Indian culture. Indian were either migrated or born in Malaysia, and they are the minority in Malaysia. So they were the year first during the British colonial period, and they are work on under plantation industry. So within the Indian communities, Tamil is the largest and followed by Malayalam and Telugu. So in India, the largest festival is Deepavali and Thaipusan. So when we talk about the culture, the Indian traditional greeting is Vanakkam, and girls are wear sari and bajaj suit, and boys are wear dhoti and jippa. So Indian food, they are served on banana leaf and consumed with ants. And the traditional dance is Bharatanatyam. So now I'm going to share about the negative experience in different areas. First is the food, working environment, and language. Okay, my negative experience is food. So I attended to one of my Malay friend wedding, and the main dish they serve is beef. So when they serve, I just looking through for other food, but I found out I got something to eat. As an Indian, I cannot consume beef, and I thought if would be better if they have another corner food for others as well, like chicken, fish, or some vegetables. Yes, that's all. So my negative experience is food. So I attended one of my Malay friend wedding, and they serve beef, and as an Indian I cannot consume beef. So first I was disappointed, and there's no food for other races also, and then the host, maybe they can have another food corner for other guests, and they maybe can arrange for them also. It could be nice and better.
Hi, my name is Siti Haija. Today I will share another negative experience. For example, on Friday prayers, there was a meeting arrangement between 11 to 1 p.m. Normally at this time, Muslim will attend prayers between 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. So that another parties will have to respect another culture on the arrangement, meaning that they have to wait until everyone will be attended on that meeting. Similar with the request when we are dealing with the government bodies, they are not available during that time. So when we realize that we need to wait for Muslim staff to join the meeting, our management try avoid to having meeting during Friday prayers time. It is a sign of respect for others' culture.
My second negative experience, believe me or not, every one of us share our personal thing. So at work, sometimes, not even sometimes, actually this is happening everywhere. So what happened is our colleague will be telling us all their stories, their mother, their father, their grandparent, their great-grandparent, all the story came, and they will sometime ask the personal question that is really, to me, is not as comfortable as it sounds, but as Asian, I believe somehow rather we kind of accept that. So we tend to share our personal matters openly. For example, our colleague be asking a specific question says, oh, how much is your husband earning? How much do you pay for your rental, or do you buy your own house? How much did you buy? And those kind of specific personal matters questions. And to me, when I heard those questions, I would feel, of course, uncomfortable, and I think that is to the extent too private to even share. So therefore, what I would do, I will tell them that it's not a proper question, or I would say, I would rather not discuss this to you, or I would rather not disclose this to you. Hi, I'm back. Today I'm going to also share my own negative experience. It's about time and punctuality. As Asian, as Malaysian, I do take time seriously, however, things happen in between. So the story goes like, when we make an appointment, when we reserve a table, when we plan to go somewhere on Sunday, let's say, most of the time, probably things happen in between, so the appointment got delayed, the person had to wait for me, and so on. For example, I was dealing with construction workers here in Malaysia. They are Malaysian. So basically, we reserve, or we set the appointment at 10 a.m. in the morning, and they did not arrive at 10. They will arrive either 10:45 or 11. However, the bad thing about them, or they could improve, is basically to call in advance, say, hey Suhaila, I will be late, I'm stuck in traffic jam, and so and so. Yes, they do that sometimes. However, the time that we fixed is at 10, but they did not turn up at 10.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jamila. So today I want to share my experience, my own negative experience in terms of working environment. So a few years ago, I was attending an interview, and the interviewer was a Chinese lady. She told me, Jamila, you cannot wear your hijab if you want to work with us. So I asked her why I cannot wear my hijab. So she said, this is our company rules, and you must follow the rules if you want to work with us. So how I handled the situation, I talked to her, actually this is what we call discrimination towards Muslim lady. Okay, we live in Malaysia, we have a different culture, we need to be fair to all. So I asked her for opportunity, for consider me to another department, which is I can using my hijab even I'm working.
Hi, my name is Maidala. Today I would like to share my negative experience that I had in my office. So my story is about a discussion that we had in our office. Halfway through the discussion, some of our Chinese colleagues started to converse in Chinese language. So how we felt is we felt excluded, and then we're not sure what is being discussed, and also we did not have an avenue for us to express our ideas or view on the items that they were discussing. So we took a pause moment. I took a pause moment, and then I waited for them to finish the conversation. Then it slowed down, and then I've actually jumped in to say that, can you please actually summarize the discussion for me? What is the points that you have summarized? And then they actually told us, oh, this is what we have agreed, and this is what we want to do. So I told them that how I felt excluded from the conversation, and I also expressed my feeling to say that moving forward, when you have a conversation, it would be good if you can be inclusive, because there are also other colleagues in the discussion where we do not converse your same language. Thank you. Similar to the experience that I have on the use of mother tongue, I also have another negative experience whereby the use of technical jargons, acronyms, and also buzzwords in my office. So there was this discussion that held in my office. It was an internal team meeting. A lot of seniors were attending, and then the conversation went on, and there was a lot of technical jargons, acronyms, buzzwords that was used. For example, give me a ballpark figure, and so on. So at a moment I felt lost in the conversation. I was not able to follow the context of the discussion, and I also noticed my juniors was also not able to follow what is being discussed. So how I handled the situation was, I tried to recap the conversation. I tried to reconfirm my understanding if this is what we have meant, and I also informed them to use more of layman terms. So today I would like to share about the challenges that an individual can face when it comes to intercultural communication. For example, the challenges that an individual can face is ethnocentrism, lack of knowledge about other culture, ambiguity, lack of knowledge of non-verbal cues, and then difficult to collaborate, no synergy, or different views and ideas is not materialized. So all this will be a challenge for an individual. So putting this context into my negative experience that I've shared, which is the use of mother tongue in a discussion. For example, when you're talking about judging other culture by your own culture standards, you will be expecting that the other individual to behave or to actually adopt the same culture standard that you have. And then lack of knowledge and non-verbal cues. In that discussion that I was having when they were using their own mother tongue, they were not able to read my body language or the non-verbal cues that I was expressing, that I'm not comfortable and I don't understand what you are conversing. So that is one of the good examples of what is lack of knowledge and non-verbal cues. Okay. Then the other thing is lack of knowledge about other cultures. So that situation also created sensitive ambience towards that discussion, because you are conversing in Chinese and you have an Indian colleague sitting inside there and you are not considering the other party. So that is a bit sensitive. And then difficult to collaborate is also one of the example. I'm putting the same context in the same example. Difficult to collaborate means you will not be able to get my ideas, and I will not be able to actually communicate with you if you are going to use a different mother tongue. And then the entire discussion was actually dominated by one group of people inside there. And then there's no synergy. You will not be able to materialize any ideas that I have, any viewpoints that I have. So these are all the intercultural communication challenges that an individual can face in their daily life or in a corporate environment. Right? And finally, use of linguistics or jargons. This is also same thing that I can relate back to the negative experience that I had earlier. That in a discussion, they were using figures. They were using technical jargons like ballpark figures. Too much on my plate, big data, dynamics, and all that. So MIA, for a certain individual, they may not be in a position to digest this or understand this. So when an individual is having this conversation with someone, they need to really be sensitive about other cultures. What is their
whether or not they understand the conversation.
Yes. So that is a lot of challenges that we face in our daily life.
So next up is about the communication breakdown and miscommunication. Relate back to my story earlier with regard to how or when I deal with the various Malaysian contractors. Somehow we know that in Malaysia, the contractors are probably
Foreign workers.
Foreign workers,
Other
Malay,
non-Malaysians.
Chinese, and India as well. So some of them are not aware. They don't even know. They are not aware of our culture here in Malaysia. But to me, time is gold. Time is very important. So they need to basically know. That is very basic, because I think to even everybody else, time is very precious. So we need to create an awareness. Perhaps we could tell them in advance that if you are going to be late, if you are going to be arriving in a different time that already been set, they just need to inform us in advance, right?
Yes.
Okay. So mine will be covering or shared with us or with you the rest of the challenges that she faces in her work environment and daily life.
Okay. Basically, I would like to share what are the general challenges that an individual can face when it comes to intercultural communication. For example, ethnocentrism is judging other cultures by your own culture standards. So, to the example that I've given earlier, the negative experience when I had a discussion in a room with other colleagues there. So they were in a position that they were not in a position to understand other cultures. So we have seen the challenges that an individual will face in intercultural communication. So now we will move on to what are the strategic ways to overcome intercultural challenges at individual level and also at government and corporate level. Okay, so one of the examples that I have is the use of slangs or iodines. For example, when you are having conversation with someone from different culture, you need to be specific on what you're saying. The use of words, the choice of word that you're using with someone you have to be mindful of that, because it can be sensitive to other cultures. Whatever that you are conversing could be sensitive to other cultures as well. And then, for example, try to avoid use of slangs. For example, hey man, nice to meet you.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? So that may not be something that we want to do when we don't know the person's culture. So that is something that you need to be mindful of, and also you need to be self-aware of your own body cues, the energy level that you have and the energy level that the other person has when you are communicating. You need to be able to also read the body gestures, and for example, we are sitting in a meeting room. If the person is nodding to you, it doesn't mean that they agree with the statement or I agree with your idea. It's just nodding to say that I acknowledge, I understand what you are saying. So you need to know how to read a person's body language. So that is one of the examples that strategic ways that we can apply. So now Sue will be also presenting on some of the other strategic ways.
Yeah, my part will be the eye contact. I think that is very, very important, especially when we talk to the other person. For instance, myself and talking to her. To me, it's very important that I look into her eyes because it shows that I am listening, that she is listening. Even she needs to look at my eye whenever we both talk to each other, because it's very polite. It shows that we are there, we are listening and attentively. So it's also it leads to a very good relationship later on. So eye contact is very important, yeah. And for instance, another example would be, say, she is the cashier, or maybe at a restaurant or in a shopping mall. Then if I were to give my credit card to her, I should also be giving like that with the eye contact. So that to me is very, very important. Next is break the culture gap with good communication skills. Basically saying that we need to apply good communication skill, because this is very important to whenever we have or whenever we speak to people or people from a different culture, even though they are the same nationality like Malaysian, but we are different.
So we have shared the strategic ways to overcome intercultural challenges at personal level. Now we will be sharing how we can overcome the intercultural challenges at government level or corporate level. Okay, so one of the ways that we can overcome these challenges is to give importance to diversity, introduce policies that is important to diversity, and also the senior leaderships that can walk the talk. Okay, for example, when I say give importance to diversity, is Malaysia being a country with multi-cultural, multi-race country. So diversity is very important. and you need to actually take into consideration any policies, any plans that a government introduce. They need to always consider the other races that in the country, and also at corporate level, private companies and all that, they need to actually introduce policies that gives importance to diversity and inclusions in their policies itself. Okay. Then senior leadership walk the talk. This means that any policies that you can introduce can be just a policy, and if a senior person does not walk the talk, or they do not practice this in their corporate environment, giving importance to diversity will not work. Right? So I'll pass it on to Sue to elaborate the rest of the points.
Yeah, the next one will be the conducting short talk in their own organization on culture and diversity, basically, and the practice good manner, as well as celebrate traditional holidays, festival, food, and so on. So basically, conduct short talk means that an event that conducted by the organization inside, like internal event, a very short meeting or short break for everybody together and share their culture and create awareness, try to basically educate them and on the different cultures and how we could improve current situation. The next is practicing good manners, as in, it's very general. Even daily outside individual or corporate, they can always practice a good manner, such as thank you, or handshake, of course, handshake, and also smile always, because a little things that we do always make other person happy that day or that moment. So, and also there's a word saying perfect practice makes perfect set. Okay.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And the last will be the celebration. Since we are living in multinational, multiracial country, Malaysia, so we have various festivals, the Chinese New Year, the Hari Raya, the Thaipusam, the Deepavali. So organization, they can actually create awareness or celebrate, participate, get involved, organize an event, small party or small open house, let's say, during this festive season. So I think that's all for the government and corporate communication. Yeah. So up next, we will be passing over to Revati, and she will share with you the rest of the slide. Thank you.
So what we would like to conclude in our presentation today is that in order for an individual to excel in intercultural communication skill, we need to have the right attitude, such as adaptability, acceptance, and understanding towards other culture.
Remember, the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said.